share screen option will be there.
You already given that. Am I audible to you?
Yeah, audible and its screen is also visual.
Okay. Good evening. Pranam to all Gurus. Myself, Dr. Sanju John. I'm working as assistant professor at Karnataka Ayurveda Medical College, Bangalore, in Department of Prasudha and Anesthesia Yoga. As it is too late, I am directly going to my topic. My topic is Ayurvedic Ethnomedical Botanical Survey of Kodachadri Hills, Kollu. As we all know, India is one of the mega diversity countries of the world in terms of the richness of higher plant species. And I am taking my lecture on behalf of the Western Ghats. It's also known as the Sahyadri, a mountain range runs from the western coast of peninsular India. And according to the scientists, it is considered as older than the Himalayas. It is recognized by the UNESCO as one of the 8 hotspots of biodiversity in the planet. It covers about the 25% of total biodiversity of India. And a number of new flora and fauna species are discovered every year from these ranges. It covers about 1,60,000 square kilometers in a stretch of 1,600 kilometers parallel to the western coast of India, and the Western Ghats is situated inland about 30 to 50 kilometers from the coastal area. It traverses the states of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Goa, Maharashtra, and Gujarat, and it's only interrupted at the Palakkad Gap situated in Kerala. It's about 30 kilometers, and it's a low mountain pass, which is a natural pass in the Western Ghats. The unique feature of Western Ghats is the high mountain forest system, and it's a chain of mountains. It represents geomorphic features of immense importance with unique biophysical and ecological processes. The site's high mountain forest ecosystem influenced the Indian monsoon weather pattern, moderating the tropical climate of this region. The site is one of the best examples of monsoon systems in the planet, and the Ghats acts as a key barrier intercepting the rain-laden monsoon winds that sweep in from the southwest during the late summer. Also, one of the main features is the Shola forest that we can see in the picture. The Shola forest and the grasslands is visible. The Western Ghats is rich in the Shola forest. These are the patches of standard tropical montane forest found in the valleys in middle of grasslands. And the separation of grasslands is a unique feature. And here the forest regeneration or expansion is restricted by different climate conditions like soil erosion, heavy wind, and something like that. And usually this type of vegetation is considered as climatic climax vegetation. Here the major part of the Shola forest is the tropical evergreen forest, and this part contains exceptional levels of plant and animal diversity and endemicity for a continental area. It is a home for at least 325 globally threatened flora, fauna, bird, amphibian, reptile, and fish species. And in the evolutionary path, it is considered as an ecotone, where this species dispersal and vicariance is very high. And the level of endemicity in Western Ghats is also much important. It has about 4 to 5,000 plant species, and in them 650 species are endemic. Sorry, 325 of the 650 endemic to the Western Ghats itself. It comes to around 54%. And in the animal diversity, in the case of amphibians, it is 65%, in reptiles, 62%, and in fishes, it is about 53%. And in the case of invertebrates, it comes to around 80% of endemic species in the area. And also, it's a home for threatened habitats like unique seasonally mass flowering wildflower meadows that we can see in the picture, and also the Shola forest and the Myristica swamps. But in this particular area of survey, the Myristica swamps are not covered. and Mukambika Wildlife Sanctuary. It is named after the presiding deity goddess Mukambika of Kollur Mukambika Temple, one of the most famous temples of Karnataka. And it is a protected area notified by the Central Ministry of India in 1974. The sanctuary occupies the West Coast tropical evergreen forest, West Coast semi-evergreen forest, then secondary moist mixed deciduous forest, scrub forest, and dry grasslands. The Kodachadri Hills lies within the sanctuary, and it has an elevation of 1,343 meters from the sea level. It's almost in the middle region of Mukambika National Park, and the peak is barren due to the strong winds, and the base area is covered with thick forest. Shola forest occur in the valley region of two adjacent hills that we have already said, and typically it consists of the tropical and subtropical genera growing together. And in order to understand, for easy understanding of this area, I have divided the total area into three-tiered arrangement with the top canopy. The top canopy of the forest area is rich in Eliocarpus tuberculatus, Nema attenuata, Myristica bedomi, Semicarpus anacardium, and some of the Syzygian species. And when came to the middle canopy, it is occupied by medium-sized trees, and it is rich in the cinnamon species, Hypnocarpus pendantrus, Aporosa lindleyana, Flocotia montana, which is edible, Canthium dicoccum, and many other plants like that. And the lower canopy is mainly consisting of the Calicarpa tomentosa, Stobilantha species, Clerodendron species, Polybrook oppositifolia, Lobelia nicotifoliana, Nadia glaucosa, etc. So here we have an average look on the total flora of the area, and now I'm trying to explain some of the most important and interesting plants of Kodachadri. And the first one is Katunaragam spinosa. It's also known as mountain pomegranate. As Ayurvedic scholars or Ayurvedic students, we all know about this plant. It is the best Vamagadrivya or the best emetic drug in Ayurveda. It's a large shrub and a flowering plant with beautiful flowers, and the color of flower varies with the climatic conditions. Here we can see the white flowers, and in some areas, due to the dryness of the atmosphere, the leaves and the flowers have certain changes in its color. It's a yellow flower. The root decoction, as it is an emetic drug, the root decoction is externally used in many conditions of skin diseases. I'm not explaining any of the Ayurvedic uses because that we have already covered in our classical textbooks and classical seminars. Due to the ethnomedicine relation, I have explaining only the ethnomedicine uses. In small doses, the powder of the seed is used as an expectorant along with honey, and also it is used in fever and nausea. And in certain areas of Kerala and Karnataka, among the villagers, it is used for inducing appetite, but the actual amount of dose cannot be understood from their explanations. Next one is Rubia cordifolia. It's the common madder, also from the Rubiaceae family, and we all are familiar with this drug. It is Manjishta or Manjatti, and it's a flowering climber or creeper and economically much important plant, and it is cultivated in many of the areas of India as a source for the red pigment. The stem is woody at its base, and we can see the feature of the leaf. It's very easy to identify the plant, and the plant is one of the main ingredient in many formulations like Manjushtadi Kashaya and those related with the skin diseases and blood purifying. In the folklore practice, it's used as an antibacterial drug, and its decoction is used to wash out the vrana or non-healing ulcers, and also the root powder is used as a blood purifier. Scleropyrum pendantrum from the Sandaceae family is a very particular drug, as it is recently included in the Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia after a very good study from STM College of Ayurveda Udupi. It's a root hemiparasitic thorny tree, and a lot of plant can be seen over the areas of Kodajadri. Here, the medicinal parts are the leaf, fruit, and the seed. And the seed is a source of oil, and the seed oil is found to be Crimicina, and also it is used in making some of the edible preparations among certain tribes. And the oil from the seed is used in ulcers and poisonous bites and septic wounds. More than that, the seed powder can be used as a preparation like coffee or tea, and it is also used in some areas. And the young shoots is used as a vegetable among the locals. The plant is evergreen in nature, and it's another use is the root boiled in decoction is used as a contraceptive in females. Here we can see the features of the fruit and how it appears on the plant. Next one is the Phoenix laurieri. It's a wild date palm. It is regarded as one of the sources for Parushaka. It's directly from the palm family, but it's very short, and it's very abundant of this plant can be seen on the grasslands of Kodajadri. It's very difficult to get the ripe ones and any photograph of the ripe fruits over there because it is favored by the small mammals. And this plant is considered as one among the Swalpatra phala in Ayurveda. The fruit directly taken in case of gastritis, they are using as some chewing gum like that. The villagers are using this, and it will help us to control the burning sensation of gastritic like symptoms. Here the image is very clear, and we can see the young fruits or the plant itself, but they as it get ripened, it directly eaten by the small mammals. Embelia ripes or Bidanka is also a very common plant along the path to the Kodajadri. It is traditionally used as a fat burner after delivery, postpartum. And in Ayurveda, it is Vedanga itself is Crimicna. It is from the Primulaceae family. And for identification, something have to add on. We can see some gland-like structures on the either side of the midrib. And when we place the leaf directly out the sunlight, it can be get very clear, and we can easily identify this plant. And the main medicinal part of this plant is the ripe fruit, and in Ayurvedic preparations, the dried ripe fruits are used. But in case of folklore practice, they use the fresh fruits itself, and it is used as antibacterial and in management of obesity, abdominal discomfort, and mild laxative action is also there. Carrier arborea or wild guava. This plant, the abundance of this plant can be seen over the area in the hilly area itself, and it is from the Listeraceae family. The ash of the leaf can be used in case of burn wood. And before explaining the general features, we can see the typically presenting on the slopes of the mountains in the grasslands and shows standard growth and growth of branches only in leeward side due to the heavy wind. But even if it withstand the heavy wind and stays on the grasslands, only a few of the plants can be seen directly on the grasslands, and Cassia arborea is one among them. And its leaf and the flowers are mucilaginous and are used in case of cough and cold as an expectorant or like that of a cough syrup or like that they are using. And also among the villagers, these plants are used to catch the wild boars or wild pigs because they are very much fond of the bark of this plant, and it's used for the wild boars. Eliocarpus tuberculatus. It is the warty marble tree, one of the important drug according to the Hindu mythology. It is nothing other than the source of Rudraksha. It is important in treatment of certain psychiatric ailments, in stress insomnia, general weakness, and especially in case of balachikilsa or pediatrics. The main mythological fact is that Rudraksha is considered as the deer of Lord Shiva in Hinduism, and the tree is worshipped in most part of India and Nepal. And also the Hindu prayer beads are prepared out of this plant. You can see the bead-like structure. The seed itself is taken as bead after some processing, and the outer fleshy part is removed. This is Dvimukha Rudraksha, which is very common among the Nilgiris and Kodachadri hill ranges. This is also a very mythologically important plant, the Calicarpa tomentosa, or the velvety beauty berry. It is in Kannada known as Pandavarabatti, and it's a member of Verbenaceae family. The leaves are used for chewing purpose, betle leaf like they are using, and also it is used in management of fever, skin diseases, liver pathologies, digestive disorders, and rheumatic complaints. The mythological fact is that Pandavara Bhakti means these are used to light as a torch during the Vanavasa Kala of Pandava in Mahabharata. And I have added one of the photos of that. We can see after dipping some oil over the tip or the leaf and directly burn over the area, it will light like a candle or something. So the plant is very beautiful, and also very abundance of plant can be seen over the area. It's a very vast undergrowth in the semi-evergreen forests of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, also in Kerala. In Sanskrit, this is considered as one of the sources of Priyangu. Garcinia morella, or Indian gamboge, is a member of Cloceaceae family. The ripe fruit can be preserved by drying directly on the sunlight or directly above the fire. It has a certain yellow resin. It can be collected from the bark as well as the fruit, and it is used in food industries, paint, and medicine industries also. In folklore practice, this is used in dysentery and gastritis. In case of chronic stomatitis, this fleshy part is dipped in curd and allowed to stand for 1 day, and then the next day it is taken to make control of chronic stomatitis. And it's a very good anti-inflammatory drug, and directly used in many fish recipes in the northern part of Karnataka. Lobelia nicotifoliana. It's a wild tobacco which can be seen in every altitude. This can be seen from top to bottom in the Kodachadri area, and it is clear that it's adapted with high and low altitudes. This plant is used in tonsillitis as an external application on over the neck. The root paste is used for tonsillitis. The root is found to be Vatahara. The milky sap of the leaf used as eye drops. It found to be cleansing action, but according to some, this plant is considered as a poisonous one. That I'm not clear, but in some areas, the milky sap is used even as eye drop, and the decoction of the leaf is used in fungal dermatitis and also candidiasis. These are two plants I'm going to introduce for you, the Myristica bedomi and Neema attenuata. Both are considered as wild nutmeg, and both of these plants are very common along the Western Ghats. And the identification is also much simple, that Myristica bedomi, that you can see the feature of the fruit. And in case of Neema attenuata, it is the pubescent fruit, and also both of these plants are anti-inflammatory, and seeds paste is used in scabies and other skin diseases. In itching condition, the paste is used. Also in Wayanad regions, the dried powder of Neema attenuata is used as cigarette-like structure for chronic cough. And the identification factor is also important. The first figure is showing the seed of Myristica bedomi, and second figure you can see the Nema attenuata. The air is completely covering the Nema, but in case of Myristica, it is similarly, not similarly, but almost like that of the common network. And this is a association of plants, that is parasitic association of plants, the Striga genesioides and Lepidognathus cuspidata. Striga, as we all know, it's a witchweed. It is pink flowered and single stemmed parasitic plant. Belongs to Orobungaceae family, and it has more affinity towards the Acanthaceae family. In the areas of Kodajadri, Lepidognathus is the prime victim of this condition, and the Lepidognathus itself is a prickly shrub growing in hilly terrains, and it is very common in the northern ranges of Karnataka. And this plant has added with some carcino repellent properties, and many studies are going on with the prevention of cancer, especially the colon cancers. And it's very found, both of these plants and the Striga itself found to be very effective in management of gouty arthritis like conditions of inflammation of fingers and itchy infections of skin. It's also used, the Lepidognathus is also used as an anti-cancerous drug, and also it's used in chronic fever. You can see the image, it is only single stemmed. The Striga is a single stemmed plant which grows directly on the Lepidognathus itself. Heracleum regens, it is one of the sources of Chitta in Ayurveda. It is an aromatic herb usually seen in high altitude, and the qualities and the aroma is similar to that of Eleutheria cardamoma. It is digestive, carminative, and it belongs to Apiaceae family. This plant is used in many combinations, many formulations of Ayurveda, and it's also used as an appetizer in some of the recipes of some areas. Here comes the Habenaria species. Habenaria species are Orchidaceae family. All are from Orchidaceae family. Most of them are with white flowers, and found to be very prominent in some some species like Donchi corniculata, and studies about 800 species of Habenaria are identified over the Western Ghats, all over the world, and about 5 or 6 types of Habenaria species can be seen in the areas of Kodajadri, but I'm unable to take all the photographs here. Habenaria clinifera, Habenaria intermedia, Habenaria longicorniculata, Habenaria longicornicu, and Habenaria hyaenina can be seen in different parts on different altitudes of Kodajadri hills. The tubers of some of these plants are used in the treatment of cough, asthma, helminthiasis, insanity, and even in the case of paralysis. Flaucotea mondana, this is a edible plant that I have already explained while explaining the middle canopy of the forest. The presence of this plant can be easily identified by the presence of many birds and mammals like squirrel, giant squirrel. The fruit is edible and it's very tasty in nature, and the plant is deciduous. It belongs to Salicylaceae family. The trunk is full of simple thorns, and after a height of 1 to 2 feet, the simple thorns are changed the nature into branched ones. A number of these type of plants can be seen over those areas of Kodajadri, and its fruit is directly we can consume. It's edible and it's also hepatoprotective, and even if it has very good taste, it's considered to be hyperglycemic and anti-inflammatory drug. Christisonia bicolor is a very rare orchid with a very less lifespan. It also belongs to the Orobanchaceae family. It's a parasitic plant. It's leafless, and I don't know if it's really used in any medicine or any combinations, but it's a very rare plant, and I have included this one for representing the area. Hexacum tetragonum. Hexacum tetragonum, as you all see, it's a very good inflorescence. It's very common in the grasslands, and the plant is very tall. We can easily identify the plant from a very distance. It is used to treat eye diseases, skin complaints, stomach pain, urinary problems, and diabetes. The flowering period is from November to December, and the sepals are used. The sepals mixed with the honey can be used in management of blackheads of the face. So these are some of the very common plants we have already come across, and due to lack of time, I have just added some of the pictures, and Rosira already Teepulle, sundew plant, one of the insectivorous plants explained the way the previous presenter, and Syzygium laetum is endemic to the Western Ghats. The royal fern, it is also very common seen in the areas of Kodajadri, and Lea indica is also very prominent undershrub in the area. And on the way to Sarvajnapida is the peak, and the topmost position of Mogambica Kodajadri is the Sarvajnapida. It is very much related to Shankaracharya, where the Mogambica has even has been worshipped by Shankaracharya over this peak, and you can see a very vast picture, very elaborate picture of Kodajadri sanctuary from the top of the Sarvajnapida, and this is a very few representation from this area because the area is full of rich flora and fauna, and we are unable to include much more plants in this very short time, and I think it will be a primary chance. We have to elaborate our knowledge, we have to make more surveys, we have to explore more the nature and identify these type of plants, and Ashtangam is given such a great opportunity for me to participate in this program, and I thank everyone, especially Dr. Ajay, for this chance for me. Thank you all.